What is going on, everybody? Welcome to our TrueDFS Daily Show. We've got Mark here helping us out in the producing end. Mark, appreciate that a lot. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, check out the site. Again, we really appreciate all the love and everything. Check out the site. Check out the Around the Industry tool. I think that those of you who haven't used it yet should really give it a shot. It's really cool just to be able to look it up and you see what everybody around the industry is saying about a certain player, taking you to the exact clip. If you just search for someone's name, so you're trying to decide between. Obviously, a little harder for basketball because we're so much up until lock. But great day yesterday. Would have been nice to win the whole 125, but I'll take a fourth place in the 20K. It was nice, nice to have a good night. We went through the process on air, which it sounded like some of you guys appreciated. Because it was exactly what I was planning to do, the LeBron Garland thing. We went through it over in the video today, so I don't think I need to go over it again. But I did appreciate that, and I appreciate the people who said it was very helpful. And if you new people asked me to join the site, so we'll see about that too. Just they guess they see what we've been doing lately, so things are going pretty good. Let's get it right for everybody else here tonight. Let's see. Kevin Wise says, "What's the 9% of the guys you said?" It's so crazy. Everyone you mentioned yesterday that guy that won it yesterday had 90% of the guys you said. Yeah, we definitely on the right path yesterday. Hopefully we can just duplicate that. It's a little boring for a gamer, so I'm going to do the way I break these things down. And every other sport will do the same way. Basketball is very different, and on a 4-game or a 2-game or a 3-game slate, I like to just talk through the games and say who I'll be using in each one. But when you guys get on in, say hello and chat and everything, I'm going to go through my normal, what I'm doing to go through this slate. And we'll go from there. What's up, K9 Bronco? Let's get it tonight. It's too bad. I heard you said I think 3 of your lineups would have won if they did the other center. I always try to get some exposure if I'm going to have 3 and I have like guys similarly. Like yesterday was a good example between Gobert and Vooch. That didn't work, obviously. But Vooch. I think you want to usually try to get 2 in one and then 1 in the other in those kind of situations. Unless you're completely locked into one as being a significantly better play. I slightly preferred Gobert. That was wrong. Just a thought for the future. All right, on DraftKings, I'm going to go game by game for a second. Golden State has no must plays for me at all. The guy who I will have the most exposure to will probably be Draymond Green, and just sort of this is a good matchup for him to kind of do his thing. And I'm aware that's not the most optimal play on the slate, so gives you a feel of how much I love this game, which is not a ton, but there are avenues, right? I think Jordan Poole is the other one that really could get crazy hot against this team and put up like 50 plus fantasy points. I really could see that as a possibility. Other than that, I'm really not getting to anyone much. I understand if you want to take a shot on Clay, he can always get red hot and put up 50. Doesn't feel quite as good with his price now, but maybe if you want to play him on Fanduel, I think that's something that you could consider. And he's a flat 7K over there. So I do think he's a better play on Fanduel, but I don't think anybody's a must play in this game. Those are the guys who I have the most interest in. On the other side, I'm going to have some Wagner. I'm going to have some RJ Hampton, which feels really thin. Partly I want to mostly fade this game, so I'll be underweight on even the Okikis. And there's going to be some of these guys who get there. But I really want the Knicks starting lineup before I do anything, because I think for us to have a guy who's going to be 90 some odd % owned before we know if he's starting and if we're going to do other value with it or whatever, I just think we want to know that starting lineup, and we want to know who's, for sure whether Bogdanovich is playing for Atlanta, not to mention Zach LaVine's health if we can get there. So even though it's only a 4-game slate, I still think delaying is a good option when you can. And all of these guys rate out to be fine. I think Cole Anthony is the one who I would spend up for the most. I like the 2 value guys, and I don't mind Wagner. I just don't feel like you need to do it exactly. I don't know. I'm sort of stuck, and there's a bunch of like meh plays, but at their ownership, Cole Anthony could certainly put up a game, and RJ Hampton, if you add him to other later value, I think could be interesting, as well as Okiki and Wagner, but not going to go crazy with any of these guys. I'm more waiting for the other games that I really like. So whether or not Bogdanovich plays, I love Gallinari in this matchup with Atlanta and New York, starting on the Atlanta side. Trae Young is my favorite current spend up right now. It's really close. Giannis is an incredible play. But when you factor in ownership, like on FanDuel, for example, Giannis is going to end up being 1,000,000% owned, which is fine. And Trae's going to have ownership, but I like the idea of playing those two. And maybe you can even squeeze in Jokic over there because all of them are in really good spots. The Knicks, being in New York, that makes this game so much more interesting to me for Trae Young than it would be if he was in Atlanta, just because of the way the fans treat him and how he sort of seems to feed off of it. But nobody else for me unless Bogdanovic is out. I do like Bogdanovic a little bit if he's in, but I don't know how realistic it is that I'm going to get to him. I think you're playing as a main point. Here's your core. Like, you're playing at least 2 Knicks, probably 3, which also makes the run back, gives it an even better excuse, especially on a 4-game slate with the stats that I've brought up in the past about the overtime possibility, not to mention just a close back and forth game. This game has the closest total on the slate. And I just think it makes a lot of sense to have some run back, especially if you're not reaching for it, which we're not for Atlanta. But the guys, obviously Toppin, if he starts, is an awesome play. I still think there's another path for Jericho Sims, even if he doesn't start. So I will get to some exposure to that as a pivot. And then I like Barrett, Burks, and Quickly. I'll be a little different in the field because of the ownership and say play Quickly more in tournaments. But I will have a good amount of Burks, especially in my high buy and smaller field. Whereas in the smaller buy and large field, I think you want to play more Quickly, just because I think the upside is more prevalent. And Burks can play a lot of the game and play good defense and not really do much offensively. We've seen that before. Although I still like him. But so I think you're probably sitting one of those Barrett, Burks, or Quickly, and you're playing either Toppin or Sims, in my opinion, with 1 or 2 of the others. And then the other one I'm going to mention, I'm going to play some Evan Fournier tonight. Like, if everyone's going to go one direction and we've got 4 games, I just think it makes enough sense. I understand that he hasn't been great when he's been given these opportunities before with guys, who are out, but it's just a little too tempting on this slate to play a guy who's at least got the minutes pretty secure in a good matchup when the ownership is going to be, he's going to be 1/8 of what of what Alec Burks is as of right now. So I definitely like that play to get a little bit different, but you are going to be playing 2 or 3 of them, in my opinion, in your lineups. Only way it doesn't happen is if Levine sits, which really is going to be a boost for Desonmu and Caruso. Caruso I already like, so we can already pencil him in as a strong play. And it also obviously is a huge bump to Vucevic and DeRozan. These are all better plays on Fanduel except for Caruso, pretty much the same on both sites. But DeRozan and DeRozan, all 3 of them are great plays. DeRozan and Joe Val are what I would do tonight. And Joe Val, especially on Fanduel, where he's 6,900, I think makes a lot of sense. Milwaukee, Pat Connaughton, I think, is an interesting play. I'm a little worried about how many minutes Brook Lopez gets to take away from maybe some of my Bobby Portis action. Although they could play at the same time. We've seen that before too. It just worries me a little bit. But Holiday is to me the top one on DraftKings because of his price, because Giannis's price. But I think Giannis is right there with Jokic as the best play along with Trae Young. I think they're all really good, and I'm probably going to have them fairly evenly distributed, which is not the most fun answer. But I really do like the idea of playing the Trae. So he might be what I end up having a little bit more of, but I do love Giannis. Obviously, I don't think you should play Giannis and Holiday together much unless you're making a big game stack. But Portis can play with Connaughton or something like that. I do think Grayson Allen's an interesting long shot, large field tournament play. And your super large field tournament play is Jordan Nwora, but I wouldn't be doing that with expecting results. I would be doing that hoping things go a certain direction. And this game could blow out, by the way. Also, he might just outplay Connaughton and Allen in Middleton's absence, and that could keep him on the court for 24 to 28 minutes, and he can produce. On the Clippers side, I'm high on Marcus Morris tonight. Everyone else is really hard for me. I'm really struggling with it. Reggie Jackson makes some sense. Batum, it's really hard because usually you get these guys at like 1% or 2% ownership. So I like taking stabs at them, but you're not going to get that tonight because of the nature of the size of the slate. I guess you could take a weird long shot stab on Luke Kennard, but right now I have it Morris, then Jackson, then Batum, then Coffee, then Mann. And I have no problem if you want to switch that around. I think another large field play is Isaiah Hartenstein. And then for Denver, Jokic is obviously a great play. I like Monty Morris a little bit because of his price allows me to do some stuff. Aaron Gordon on FanDuel. I know it's Aaron Gordon or whatever. He's 4,500 on FanDuel. I'm absolutely going to have some exposure to him there. And it's just the way it is. And I'll probably have, I might even have a lineup or 2 with him on DK. Monty Morris, though, is my preferred of that range, even though none of it feels great. Large field, DeMarcus Cousins, Bones Highland, I would play both of those guys in large field tournaments, probably not so much in large buy-in small field. Let's get to the stuff, guys. Please make sure to hit the like button, as Rody always tells everybody, points out to everybody. Thank you, Kobe. I think. I can't hear Mark. Sorry about that, but we're trying to get the show organized a little better and better, and Sheets should be with us in just a few minutes. So guys, please do drop in your questions, drop in your thoughts. I still think we're waiting on this Knicks news, this Knicks information. Anyways, that's where we're at. I'm just double checking. I'm not missing anything. Sometimes my phone gets quicker updates. Isn't that weird how that happens? Some of the apps are better on the phone. I know we've got Mark with the injury report, which Mark, if you want to maybe make that full screen, if you can hear me, let's make it full screen for a minute just to talk about what the possibilities are. Thanks. I appreciate it. So we have it doesn't have even the other stuff. It's got tomorrow's stuff. It's a very weird order tonight. So it doesn't have the it's not done by the most updated injury stuff because it doesn't have the Bogdanovich. Oh, there we go. Okay. Yeah, the biggest thing is Levine and I'm not Bogdanovich. Bogdanovich, excuse me. Levine, Bogdanovich are the big question marks for us that affect some things in a pretty big way. So overall, most of my lineups will contain 2 to 3 Knicks at least. Most of them will have 1 or 2 players from Milwaukee at least. Most of them will have a good portion of them will have at least 1 Bull. If Levine is out, it's going to be more. And then a good portion of my lineups will have at least 1 player from Atlanta. That's mostly going to be Trae Young. And just like that, here is Sheets. What's up, Sheets?
What's going on, man?
How's it going, man? So I just went through my sort of overall outlook. It's not a whole lot different. The main thing I think we all need to know what's happening is what's up with Levine, what's up with Bogdanovich, and what do we do with the I guess that's the same question as what do we do with the Knicks, but what do we need the Knicks starting lineup basically.
Yeah, what I was going to say is what we're waiting for is Zach LaVine, Bogdanovich, and the Knicks starting lineup.
There you go. Okay, same page.
So I disagree with everything you just said.
Any interesting things to point out at, like, because I'm just looking at the projections and everything, and I'm just sort of intrigued by the fact that there's guys who are going to play minutes that aren't going to get a lot of ownership. And unfortunately, we may not know before the Knicks release their lineup. Hopefully they give us an extra few minutes, but usually it's about it'll probably be right at lock for the first game. But I know that we haven't seen it lately. I just feel like with this environment, I feel like we could see a little bit better things out of RJ Hampton. And I'm just saying guys are going to play minutes. Mo Wagner, Chuma Okeke, all these guys aren't going to have that much ownership, except for maybe Wagner a little bit. And I just think it's kind of interesting because then we have there's the mid-tier guys like the Cole Anthony and the Draymond Green, which I'm definitely going to have at least a one back and forth of those guys. They're pretty. I just don't think people are playing these guys very much, and I'm sort of interested in it a little bit. I'm a little surprised that more people aren't playing Jordan Poole in my projections. What do you have with your projections or in your most recent one with Jordan Poole's projected ownership? Because I would have thought, looking at the slate,
I have him at 15%.
Yeah, it feels a little low to me. Lower than what I thought it would be. It's just interesting that Reggie Jackson will get played more than him, and Jackson's not really getting the guys out boost.
I'll tell you, I have this feeling that the Denver Clipper game is going to be underplayed. Yeah,
I agree with that, actually.
Especially if heaven forbid, Levine gets ruled out.
Yep.
I want to give you advice. Can I give you some, what's the word I'm looking for? Not feng shui, some video feng shui. So what I would do is look over your right shoulder. I would close the bathroom door.
Oh, well, that's an accident. Here we go.
Yeah.
In real life.
I keep forgetting to mention it too, because sometimes, yeah.
It's just weird. I have to switch. I have different cameras for my thing. I can't seem to get the thing working, but I'll fix it anyway.
I like the Brooklyn. I like the Brooklyn vibe though.
Yeah, the Brooklyn vibe. We got the bats in the background.
Yeah.
I agree with you about the. I think the first and last games are the lowest owned, right?
Yeah, especially the first one.
Yeah. So what are you doing, if anything, in the first one as of right now? Do you think?
I think it's probably smart to avoid it. I mean, until we get some sort of clarity on later stuff. I don't think anything from that game is really jumping, except I will say that Moritz Wagner play is still aging pretty decently. You know what I mean? Like it's not bad. And if that game's going to be underowned as a whole for probably good reasons, like people want to wait on news and backload, that's been something to do. Then maybe you could sneak Moritz in at lower ownership than he would have been otherwise.
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking a little bit. The problem is then you got to Kiki, you got to think about those. How many minutes is he going to end up with? They seem to fluctuate, and his production does as well. There's just a lot of guys who are sort of in between, and I'm having trouble differentiating them. And partly it's, one, if we have the automatic plug-in of top end, do I need to play that exact other value? And if I do, am I just going to have the same lineup as everybody else with two studs at the top?
So I've got a guy from the Knick game. It's what I call kind of like the obvious play that it's apparently not being played. So it's not a projection-based play really, but I'm looking at ownership on somebody, and if someone told me that Julius Randle is going to be out, I think the two things that would get affected would be points and rebounds, whatever. Why is Mitch Robinson not getting played at all?
Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't know, first of all, that he gets any more minutes.
No, probably not.
I don't know that he would get any. He never gets a look in the post anyway.
I'm just thinking about the rebounds.
Yeah, it's offensive and defensive rebounds. So yeah, I agree that Mitch Robinson is a good tournament play. I do. I have him 6th of the Knicks that I like, but I don't know. I certainly wouldn't cross him off my list. He's on my list. It's just no one's going to play Mitch Robinson, but at the same time, no one's going to play Draymond Green, who's basically become the point guard of that team now. So, or he really kind of was anyway.
Yeah, that's the second time you've mentioned him today. The Draymond. It's no one's going to play anybody from that game, much less Draymond. Has basically been out of everybody's, mouth for like a while.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hey, good evening, gentlemen. I think I got my mic issues worked out.
Excellent. How's it going, Mark?
Good. So we've got Kobe is talking about running Marcus Morris after what he said yesterday about the Nuggets, but he can't afford Joker, so he actually likes Barton on the run back. No interest? Any interest on your part on that, Marcus Morris and Barton?
I love Marcus Morris. I said that one, but the Barton one is just okay, we can play a guy at low ownership. And on Fanduel, I think he's actually that's too cheap. I'm going to put Barton on my list on Fanduel too. They just really have not put up games in a very long time with the way it is currently. But I think Barton on Fanduel definitely makes some sense. On DraftKings, I think it's fine. And I like that it's later. So I'm actually okay with it, with the play. It's not, the game log is not exactly encouraging, but that doesn't really mean everything. And, for what it's worth against this,
I got it.
Played. He hasn't had great games. I don't know. It's not a play who's high on my board, but I definitely like the idea, and it's a way of getting a little bit different. So I'm okay with that actually. Sheets, where do you stand on? Because Barton is probably a little under projected right now. I feel like
these guys never show up as good plays for me. These Denver guys, and every once in a while when I run stuff, I end up with like kind of one-offs of sometimes Barton, sometimes Aaron Gordon or whatever, and I'm never happy about it. Another guy that's showing up is kind of, again, a 4-game slate type thing. At 4,600 is the other Morris, is Monty Morris. Again, not the greatest play in the world, but of the $4,500 guys that are viable, he's certainly going to he's not going to be. He'll be like one half the ownership of Alex Caruso, for example.
Right. Yeah, I think he's interesting. I mentioned him before. I do like him, and I guess that I should be a little bit. I want to be a little bit higher on Will Barton. I like that. I like that call. I think that's an interesting thing. I made a note already to make sure I get some exposure because I didn't really come across him earlier in my builds, but I definitely could see the upside. And part of him not doing much is this Bones Highland just completely taking over every time he's in the game. which he's like filling the when Jokic goes out, Will Barton role. And sometimes when Jokic goes in, it's kind of killing a little bit of his action, and it kills Morris's too. The one guy who, that I think maybe a little bit on the downside in minutes projection, and they do really fluctuate, but they've played in some blowouts lately, is Aaron Gordon. I don't think – I think his median should be around 32, and I've got him at 29. Not a big deal, but and if this game stays close, I think he should be around 32.
I want to go back to the Knicks for a second.
Yeah.
So let's say they announce you get Mitch Robb, you get Tappan, you got Barrett, and then the two guards, right? I guess it would be Burks and Quickly, I guess. I'm not even sure. Or Fournier, whoever. What would you do with Jericho Sims, if anything?
That's what I talked a bunch about. Yeah.
Oh, I wasn't here. I'm sorry. Okay.
No. You're fine. You're fine. Same thing as earlier. I think it's a great pivot. But we don't know who's starting, so I don't really want.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't get him start, if you get Toppin starting,
he's not starting, then he's a great large field tournament play.
Okay.
And maybe you could sneak him into other one if you want to play them together. That's kind of weird, but you could. What if Mitch Robb picks up 2 fouls? There's a like Quickly, you know what I mean? Like there's a chance, but you still got Taj Gibson there. If you told me Taj Gibson isn't playing minutes tonight, I would be way all over all these guys. Those minutes are just take away just enough from them to where they don't stand out. But I do like Jericho Sims, so I am going to make sure I have for every 3 lineups that I've got of Toppin, I'll have one of Sims. I haven't found it in me to play them together yet. Feels like a very cashy type of move, even though it's not a great cash game play.
I mean, he's projecting for me at under 10% ownership of Jericho Sims. So,
yeah, I have him right around there. I don't know. I like him. It's just a matter of what you're doing. Like, are you playing him with Toppin? Because that's the question, right? Like, it doesn't. Right. It's not that on his own he's not a good play. It's just, But we are assuming. And by the way, if you look at who they've given minutes to, they've given more minutes to Sims over the last month than they have to Toppin.
I'll give you one other guy who you play, who's one of your guys, who's again on a 4-game slate. Another one of these 4,500s. Did you talk about Nick Batum at all?
Yeah, I think it's fine. I think the fact that he's getting some ownership tonight is weird because no one's been willing to play him for any game, and he hasn't really gotten there. I don't know. It's fine. I think that Morris is the priority, then Jackson, then Batum, then Coffey, then Mann. If you're going to go, and then you could play the long shot Hartenstein. But I don't think that he's a guy who I'm trying to get in. If I get stuck in some places, I'm going to have probably a tiny bit of exposure, but not what I'm trying to do. But he's.
I'm not seeing him that owned either. I'm telling you, I think this Clipper game is going to be. I don't want to say ignored. Obviously, it's 4 games, but right. I think that people are really going to play a lot of Caruso. They're going to play a lot of. I think Connaughton will get owned over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like Caruso and Connaughton, but I don't mind adding those guys to the list. I don't think Connaughton's going to be crazy.
Maybe not.
And
there was some other thing, by the way, going on about Grayson Allen and what was it? Grayson Allen and the guy from and Caruso got into it once or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, Grayson Allen took him out for most of the season.
Oh, is that right? Is that what happened?
Don't be surprised if this game gets a little ugly, that somebody doesn't get thrown out, and that person is usually Bobby Portis. I love Bobby Portis, by the way. I still love him for tournaments. It sucks that, with Brook Lopez back playing minutes, that maybe he loses a few minutes there.
Oh, I didn't hear about that. Okay.
Yeah, he's been playing. But his minutes he played 20 minutes in the last game. They definitely want to ramp him up for the playoffs, but they can play together. It's not like they don't have to be interchangeable. We've seen that work before for them. So DeRozan on DraftKings, to answer that question, that's fine. I just mentioned I don't have any. You have to wait. Like if Levine's out, obviously he's a great play, but I actually don't particularly like him on DraftKings. The guy he's put up 150 fantasy point game in a million games. And with Levine there, it does change things on their offense. Now, could he do it? Sure. Like I like him better at 7,800 on FanDuel. It's more stomachable. I like Vucevic a little bit better on DK than DeRozan. They're close. All those guys are good plays. I don't think that there's a huge gap between any of them. And I think that the ownership will reflect that. If I was siding with any of them, because I'm paying up for those other spots, I would probably be siding with the Vucevic or the Levine. I'm probably going to play two of the bigger guys, and in my lineups, and where I don't, I'm going to be mixing in some of that mediumness from Orlando, Golden State, and including guys like Mitch Robinson, and more of these Bulls guys. But I really want to, without knowing that, and I think Levine is like a legit questionable. But this is like a serious game, but he's a legit questionable. So it's really hard to make that assessment without having more information on that game, which speaks to fading the early game even more. Let's see. Nancy Drew guy is asking, getting more bucks than Knicks. Is that a good move? What site? And that's what bucks? I don't know how else to put it. Is Wagner a good DK play? I think he's okay, which is right where he projects, and there's really nothing different about this situation than there has been every other day. He's been trending in the right direction overall. I would say that he and Okiki are pretty close. I have him ahead of Okiki right now. But I think so I am playing him some, I guess, to answer that question. He's not in my main lineup at the moment. Top 3 spend ups on Fanduel are very, very easy question. Giannis, Trae Young, and Jokic. I don't even think there's anybody else to mention. Those are the obvious ones, I guess. And you can still play the Barrett if you want to and all that stuff.
I have Giannis and Jokic is better than Trae on FanDuel. That should come as no surprise.
Yeah, it's just
then again, I have Barrett and Toppin as great plays, so the correlation works to play Trae Young with those guys. So, depends on what you believe.
Yeah, I think that there's an argument to be made to play like a front, like because of the guys you're getting like DeRozan and Barrett at small forward, like it's really a lineup construction thing. Like Bobby Portis is 5,600, with and I know we have Lopez, but we still don't have Middleton, which is a bigger piece of news. I like the build better with Trae a little bit, but it feels really almost like wrong to say it. And I'll have one really big buy-in and one medium buy-in on FanDuel. My medium buy-in will probably have Giannis and Jokic. My big buy-in will have Trae and Giannis most likely. And it probably will have Evan Fournier, but I'm starting to think about the Evan Fournier versus Barton aspect of this. They're both interesting at low ownership. I actually think it's a really interesting large field pairing. You play those guys at the shooting guard and you're way off the board. And then you just use one of Barrett and then quickly at point, I guess, or something like that. Or Burks at point. DK, Pat Connaughton, Holiday, and Giannis versus who? Versus what other guys? Just the standard Knicks guys? That's a really hard. It's hard to question to answer because I don't know how to like. Sheets, do you have any help on this one? On the getting a lot more bucks on the Knicks than the Knicks on. Is that a good move? And it's on DK. I don't know how to answer that question. Like, it depends on what bucks. It depends on what Knicks you have in those.
I think the Knicks values are better than the Bucks values. If that's what you're getting at.
But like, so does that mean though Jericho Sims though that somebody else is going to take that and go? That means Jericho Sims is better than Connaughton.
No,
that's necessarily right.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, I guess in an attempt to answer your question, I mean, I Toppin, presuming he's starting, and even maybe if he doesn't, is the best play of all of those guys from both teams. But if you play Toppin, then you're starting to head down like a really, really chalky build, right? That doesn't mean you can't get different elsewhere, but right. So Bobby's not trying. We're not trying to be evasive when you say, "Oh, who's better? This." It really is kind of in the context of what the rest of your lineups it looks like and how many lineups you're playing and all of that, But like, keep in mind that if you do play Toppin, then that's already one piece that's very, very chalky. So if you're playing GPPs, you have to start thinking about how you're going to play guys that are not that chalky.
Right. Exactly. And again, all of this stuff is, we hate to do this, especially on a show that most of the games are early, but we just really don't know without like the Levine thing and, to some extent Bogdanovich, to some extent, this Knicks starting lineup are going to dictate what happens on this slate. So,
let's stick with the Nancy Drew guy for just a second. So saying the Knicks guy I have are Toppin and Barrett. Yeah, I mean, in a vacuum, I agree with both those things. I mean, I like Toppin and I like Barrett. They both get bumps from Randall being out. Their projections are going to reflect that, and ownership's going to reflect that. Both those guys are going to be very, very well played. I think if you really want to build a lineup, I think one thing you could do right off the bat, Nancy, is or Guy, whatever you want to be called, is as long as you're already playing two Knicks, you like those two, maybe you should consider playing someone from Atlanta. You could play Trey. And as we talked about in the earlier video, you're already kind of well on your way because you have exposure to both sides of that ball. Or the other thing you could do if you wanted to get really, really cute about it is you find another Knick to play, and you could even play another Hawk if you wanted. Like you wanted to go to Danilo Gallinari, who we spoke about a little bit before. Or if Bogdanovich is out, maybe Herter becomes a really good play. Maybe Herter's a good play anyway, Maybe you go to DeAndre Hunter. So I think like on a 4-game slate, maybe you could play like 3 guys from the Hawks, 3 games from the Knicks. So if you're already starting with those guys like Toppin and Barrett, you could commit to playing a lot of guys from that game. And that's just one way you could do
it. Hey guys, I got a quick question for you. This is a little off the beaten path, but it seems like questions are on the drier side. I'm running a few things in an optimizer, and I'm getting like a few weird like 5 Knick lineups. Like, is that seems too much? Like 5 Knicks.
I guess there's some way that a 5 that's too much.
Right, I agree. I just want to make sure in case other people might be seeing things like that too.
There is a way that there could be 5 Knicks, but it would be very, very, very far-fetched, and it would have to have at least one Hawk on the other side.
Trey Young is their running back. Trey Young as the spend up on the other side.
Yeah, 5 does. I mean, like, I don't know if in the whole time I've played DFS, except for maybe once or twice that I've ever played 5 guys from a team.
Okay. It felt a little off to me, but that's why I just figured maybe there was something I was missing on a 4-game slate where like, especially because there's so much value on that Knicks side that it's like, but I can't get to anything better than Trey Young. Like that's the biggest spend up I'm getting. Right. Like, so.
Yeah. Well, my take is you shouldn't be playing any less than 2 Knicks in any lineup.
That I agree with. Okay.
And you shouldn't be playing but the optimal way for me to do it is if I'm playing 3 or more, then I can get exposure to the guys I like on the other side, which are Gallinari and Trey Young.
Well, I don't want to get too granular in the answer to your question, Mark, but once we start integrating more with SaberSim and we start doing more content specifically related to that, some of the results of these things are going to kind of blow your mind because if you believe, the SaberSim main contention is that they run simulations that kind of take all that into account. They have like correlation distributions and all that stuff, and they run all these different simulations that you actually do get like from time to time builds of like 4 or 5 guys. And if you're going to run them, it's kind of weird to say, but you have to sometimes just kind of dispense with what you think is the case if the algorithm is going to show you that it's not the case. Now again, usually what Bobby's saying, what everybody's saying is usually right. And what Rhodey's saying is right too, is that sometimes you'll get like all the guys out for a team and you'll end up sometimes playing 6 guys from one team, but that's usually in a cash game type build. You know what I mean?
You can play 6 guys.
Yeah, you can.
Oh. Yeah, I guess it's possible in a cash game that you could.
Yeah, and that's happened.
But the way it worked before when everybody did it is, first of all, you have 4 or 5 guys starters out, not 1.
Right. Right. That was very rare, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and you need like any game that goes into double overtime can win you like that way. You know what I mean? But you can't. Well, I say to factor the overtime in. That shouldn't be what your game plan is when you try to win a tournament. Giannis is going to play. Okay.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
You know. Yeah. I never look at results. I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when they play DFS sometimes is looking at other people's results and looking at it from the wrong perspective. Like, oh, well, they played those 2 guys who supposedly don't work out well together, but they both won. But how did it happen? You know what I mean? Like, what was the game? What was the structure that happened? That's sort of like my Sims and Toppin problem tonight. Like, is there a path for them to get enough minutes together, or can I count on them both just smashing separately? Like, it's just a weird, it's counterintuitive. In my opinion, it's bad play to generally play those things together. But tonight might be an exception to that. So that's one thing I'm considering. but I think it's more of a cashy type of move than it is a tournament one. Would it be stupid to play Jokic and Trey in the same lineup? No, absolutely not. Jokic and Trey in the same lineup is like a great. I mean, yeah, that's great. I love that. And I think you can play Giannis in the same lineup as well on FanDuel if you want to go with a certain type of build.
Well, what's interesting, and this I want to take that question a little deeper. I brought this up a couple of days ago. Well, I think in a weird way, playing Trey and Jokic together is pretty, not only contrarian, but you think about it. What you're hearing throughout the industry is what seems to make sense. Like if you're going to play like a bunch of Knicks, you're going to play Trey on the other side, right? You're going to play like these Bulls guys. You'll play it with Giannis. You want to play Jokic, you might want to play some Clippers or whatever. So if you play Trey with Jokic, and then maybe only, I don't know, maybe one Nick, you know what I mean, or something like that, that'll definitely make you a little bit different. And it's going to cost you. It's probably not optimal to do it that way. You're probably supposed to play a bunch of Knicks if you're going to play Trey or whatever. But again, anything that makes you unique on a 4-game slate without giving up too much, I mean, you get the green light from me.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I personally wouldn't play a lineup without 2 Knicks tonight, but that depends on.
Well, I mean, if you get there, you know what I mean.
Before everybody says anything later, though, I have to clarify. That means if Levine is playing and if the other guys are playing that are questionable, because that does change everything if those guys are out. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate the kind words. All right, Sheets. Before I get out of here, what else can we go over from the slate? Because I think it is interesting to try to get different on these slates. But I also think it's that's why I really like what Kobe said about it's not the optimal play to play a guy like Will Barton. It's not necessarily optimal to play Aaron Gordon. If you play Will Barton and Aaron Gordon and Evan Fournier, that's a large field like combo of guys who can get 7x that is going to be just different than everyone else, and you can go ahead and play the rest of the guys.
Are we expecting Fournier to start?
Yeah, he always starts.
Okay.
It's only really that one spot, but there's nothing that says they have to play a power forward. That's the thing that's weird about all the projections. It is typical of Tibbs to do that, but there's no reason that they couldn't just play one of Robinson, Toppin, Gibson at the 5, and then play the rest of their guys. Cause it's not like Gallinari. I mean, yeah, he can post up, I guess, a little bit on Barrett, but it's not like you're talking about having to go up there against Tim Duncan or something.
I threw the projected lineups up on screen. Obviously, these are just the expecteds, and the only confirmed is Orlando. But this is another tool, right, that people can just take that glance at. This is a roto tool, but
yeah,
we're transparent here, so we use all the tools, right? We use our own and we use other people's when it makes sense. So this is just a place to peek if people are looking for stuff. I don't know if you got a better one, Bobby. This is the one I typically glance at.
Yeah. I have a different. I just use the NBA lineup page,
okay,
and Roto Grinders.
I just look at our Twitter feed that we have in our Discord, actually.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying when you're like trying to plan ahead until the announcements come, this kind of reminds you who starts or who's typically been starting. And again, I'm also always looking for pages that fit nicely into the stream. So there are some times there's better info, but I can't get it to fit in a screen for you guys.
Okay. Gotcha. No, I appreciate it. To answer that next question, though, about real quick about if you go Jokic, should you run it back with Clippers guy? You don't have to. I personally am playing Morris in most of my Jokic lineups, but I don't think you need to do it. Sheets, any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I do like the Reggie Jackson. I do like playing. I would play both of them, Reggie Jackson and Morris.
I actually like that as a combination as well. Not in general, but tonight I actually found it as more of a logical 4-game slate. You don't need them both to get 50.
It'd be great if he could hit 3 home runs tonight, like he did back in '77.
We got 2 Sheets. That was a Sheets joke, and now we got 2 of you guys. I gotta keep up with these things.
DFS dad jokes.
We do have 3 dads on the show right now, right? So that is a problem. There's a little too much.
Maybe we mistitled it. Instead of 3 DFS, the DFS dads. All right, guys, I'm going to get running. So any more questions, get there in the next few minutes because I am going to go have to finish building my lineups, and I'm still hoping for that Knicks starting lineup. That would be helpful.
Hey, so if you guys didn't see, if you guys are interested, I put a I don't know actually where it ended up. I was just looking at your comments, Mark. I did a video today. I spent like a half hour on it, and I really wasn't going to put it up at all. And then Bobby told me it's probably it's probably be cool to put up there. So I put it up there. It was really no proper place for it to go because it was sort of a Survivor Pool video, sort of an NCAA video, and we have neither a playlist for NCAA nor Survivor anymore. So I have no idea
I've
where
got
to
the
put it.
page up on the screen so people can see where it is. It's right there, front and center, Mass. The NCAA Sheets bracket
Oh, nice.
survival pool
Okay.
puzzle.
Yeah,
Also,
there's nothing to
bear in
find. It's right there.
yeah, I made it pretty prominent. But by the way, all the content that you guys create throughout the day will always feed into the latest videos section. So again, even this is for other
Right.
people watching at home. If you don't see something on the homepage, just go glance at latest videos. All their content goes there. Sometimes it takes me a minute to find a picture or a headline to make it front and center, but we've made all the content that went out today is all right now center mass. So NCAA survival pool, the NBA first look, and then the PGA match play, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great. And guys, yeah, please, if you have any questions, just get in that True DFS support channel. Mark,
So what we're gonna do, by the way, I don't know
Oh.
so in the Discord, but
We just
once
go
I'm
ahead.
gonna be putting stuff up for the oh my god, 626 for the other the Punta Cana golf as well. But what I'm gonna do, not to confuse anybody, I'm gonna wait until the match play tournament starts and locks, and then I will put the Punta Cana, and I'll just replace the golf with the new players.
Yeah, if you guys are playing golf, check out the video we did. I thought that was kind of fun. I did want to talk really quickly. Brooke Lopez is starting tonight, and Bobby Portis is coming off the bench.
Ooh.
Brooke Lopez is in play, obviously, if they're willing to give him minutes. I don't know how much they're really willing to give him, but I am interested to more than at least speculate on it now.
Wow, that's very interesting.
It also means my Bobby Portis is going to be very, very low, much lower owned, probably in a better game scenario for him to play some minutes without Giannis and without Lopez. I just think it's a good spot for. I'm gonna be all over Portis on Fanduel just after that. That's my way of dealing with that news. And with that, I'm going to go, and I will be in Discord to answer anything up to lock or after lock. And guys, let's make some money tonight. And hope, whether it's me or one of you guys tonight, I hope somebody takes down a big one. Good luck, everybody. Good luck, Chief.